Okay, it is the weather model discussion here for Friday, September 23rd. How's it going, everyone? TGIF, finally Friday. William Cole here in the Storm Studio. So this is some of the bonus content we like to do for social media. We'll be putting this on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So again, we're going to be talking about the data, the raw data that we look at to put our forecast together. So this won't be the normal, typical TV type forecast you see on our channel, right? So just to preface, if you're wondering what's going on, again, this is kind of the bonus behind the scenes content that we like to look at with you guys as well. So let's go and get down to business on this Friday. Again, everyone trying to make their weekend plans, and I can tell you it's going to be a hot weekend, but there are weather changes on the way. So number one, just looking around the region, again, just kind of looking at some regional temperatures here. It's hot in DFW, but I can tell you our temperatures have trended down just a bit this afternoon. The main reason, we had a surface boundary in the area. It's washed out. It was a former cold front up in Oklahoma, and even though we were forecasting mid to mid upper 90s today, so far we've only made it to 92, and again, it's because that boundary made its way in. Now to the south of that, you can see down in central Texas, like down around the Austin area, 97. They're going to tap most likely a 100 today. So again, it's simply put downright hot down there. So as we look at the visible satellite review, this is the data we really like to look at carefully as we go through the afternoon, where you're seeing the areas of black. That is clear sky, right? So where you're seeing kind of the speckled areas of white, mainly down along the coastal plains into parts of central Texas, that is fair weather cumulus cloud. There's just a little bit more in the way of moisture down there. If you look carefully, here in North Texas, there's a small area of cumulus cloud, fair weather cumulus cloud. It's mainly right over the Metroplex, so we'll call it partly cloudy here in the Metroplex, but again, our western counties, our eastern counties, it's generally sunny. And the main reason why it's sunny today, and really we've been sunny over the last several days, it continues to be this heat dome. The heat dome is still in full control of our weather right now. You can kind of see this black line. This is what we call the 500 millibar chart. That's essentially, we're looking at the mid levels of the atmosphere. We're looking for ridges, hotter, typically hotter, drier weather, and we're looking for dips in the jet stream, right? That's what we call storm troughs. And you can also see a big storm trough up here to the north. Can you see that big dip up there? So in that storm trough, there is an embedded front, and that front is what's eventually going to work its way into North Texas by late Sunday, more so into this upcoming week, and that's what's going to give us the heat relief and the real deal pattern change. The heat dome that we've been dealing with here, it's eventually going to pull off to the west, and as that backs up, or what we call retrograding off to the west, it's going to keep the door open. I'll show you this on the model data coming up momentarily, but it's going to keep the door open to some less hot temperatures. So after a really hot weekend, starting on Monday, our temperatures will be at or just below normal, essentially for all of next week. So that's going to be some answer to some prayers for a lot of folks out there, because we've just been just so downright hot. Looking at the radar quickly here too. Again, this is just the radar composite here in the southern plains. Again, you can see, simply put, we're dry, even down along the coast. If you look carefully down around Corpus, there's a couple showers down there. And then also you have to really look out all the way out into the Rockies, the New Mexico Rockies, south of Albuquerque there, to find any activity. That's just some elevated activity out there. So generally speaking, it's pretty quiet in the southern plains. And again, it's all because of that heat dome that's in full control of our weather. Quickly here, I do want to talk about the tropics, because we've got a lot going on in the tropics, and in fact, heading into the weekend, the tropics are going to energize even more. And early next week, of course, what everyone's talking about on social media, it is the potential of a landfalling hurricane somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, it appears to be the favored areas of the Florida Peninsula. We'll see if that verifies. I don't think that's completely locked in. We'll talk about that coming up. But as we look here at the just really at active tropical systems currently in the Atlantic Basin. This is just from the National Hurricane Center. Number one, you can see our new tropical depression, Tropical Depression 9. We will talk at length about that. There's Fiona. Fiona continues to track off to the north. In fact, she'll make landfall up in Newfoundland even parts of eastern Canada as a weakening Category 1 storm. I mean, truly she'll become extratropical, but still Category 1 type winds and rain are going to be possible in eastern Canada. That's going to be a really big deal for them. There's Gaston up here in the northern Atlantic. He continues to just kind of meander his way around that area. Really not going to impact anyone whatsoever. Then we're also watching Tropical Depression 10. This also formed today, and the latest data here just essentially takes him off to the north. And again, he's going to essentially be a non-player. So Gaston, a non-player. Tropical Depression 10, a non-player. Fiona continues to lift off to the north, and again, she will impact parts of Canada. So essentially for us here, we'll call it a non-player. So all that's left is, again, Tropical Depression 9, which again did just form about 4 o'clock this morning. Currently winds around 35 miles per hour, and the motion with this system is westerly, and that will continue to take it into the Caribbean and eventually what appears to be into the Gulf of Mexico. So let's go and take a look at this. What I'm doing now, I'm switching over to the raw model data, and this will be the European model that we look at. We're looking specifically into the Atlantic Basin, and really the only thing we're going to focus on here is our potential tropical development, again, coming out of the Caribbean. So this is the area we're watching. I know that's kind of a tight shot, but this is the area we're going to be watching. Obviously, is right down in here, and then we'll just basically follow the motion. We'll follow that system and see what happens with it. So here we go, going forward in time. There it is. It appears as though over the weekend becomes a hurricane, moves directly across western Cuba, and from there the data has really not changed this afternoon. This is the very latest run. Essentially moves up near or just south of the Tampa-St. Pete area, and then right through central Florida, and in fact even potentially impacting Orlando, possibly as a Category 3, could even be stronger. And then you can see, wow, look at that. That's new data there. Actually comes up into the Carolinas as a landfall up in the Carolinas. So 2 landfalls with that system. And then you can see moves up into the Great Lakes. So that's going to be a high impact system, unfortunately. That'll be the first landfalling, at least in the Atlantic Basin, this entire season, right? It's been unusually quiet in the Atlantic, and we just have not had a lot of activity. But unfortunately, it appears as though the forecast right now from the National Hurricane Center is a Cat 3, which is a major hurricane landfall in Florida. A lot of times with these systems coming out of the Gulf, and I hate to even say this, a lot of times the forecast is about 1 week, right? So meaning a lot of times they'll forecast maybe a 2, maybe a 3, maybe a 4, and it ends up being 1 above, right? Just because the waters are so warm and conditions are so favorable. Not saying there's going to be a Category 4 move into Florida, but 9 times out of 10, they're forecasted 1 2 week or 1 below what they ultimately end up being. Hopefully that's not the case, but again, that's going to be a major weather maker. And obviously Tampa, St. Pete, and then all the way over through Orlando. Those are major, obviously major population centers and tourist centers in the state of Florida as well. So that'll be high impact. Okay, so from there, so that's the latest data that is still not locked in, right? We're going to track it carefully, but that's what the latest data is showing. Okay, from there I want to come back over to North America, and we're going to take a look at our overall pattern as well. Still looking at that 500 millibar chart I was looking at earlier, but this will take us out into the future, right? We're looking for ridges, we're looking for troughs, we're looking for active weather coming into North Texas. So going forward in time, there goes the ridge. You can see it right there. Essentially it backs off to the west, and again, as that happens, here's the ridge. In fact, let me go and do this here. Here's the ridge backing off to the west. I'll just kind of color that in, and then here comes our new storm trough, right? This is our trough. You can see the dip, right? So we've got the ridge, the quiet, warm weather out to the west. Here's the trough, the active, typically cooler weather, again, off to the northeast. Again, that allows that front to move in as we get into late Sunday into Monday. But notice as we go forward in time that troughing pattern does not immediately buckle, right? So we stay in what we call northwesterly flow. So the overall pattern continues to come in from the northwest. And here in North Texas, a lot of times that can mean an active pattern. Not always. It can also be a very dry pattern. This will continue to be a dry pattern, but what that's going to allow is the following Wednesday, next week, Wednesday and a Thursday, an additional front, an additional shot of less hot air to move on in. And in fact, temperatures will actually trend down. By this upcoming Wednesday and a Thursday, we'll take highs down into the mid 80s. So again, if you've been waiting for some heat relief, It's on the way. And then going forward in time, here comes another big storm trough. Again, this is just newest data coming in right now. This is by day 10. This data only goes out about 10 days. Again, so you can see here comes the next trough, next weather maker right there coming in. And the ridge is basically beat down. There's kind of a subtropical ridge way down to the south. But again, that will be our next weather maker coming in. So it appears as though we've got two dry fronts on the way. Then we may have an active trough come in, and there may be some precipitation chances by about day 10, 11, maybe even 12 days on down the road. It's not a given when you're talking that far out, but it is within the realm of possibilities. I'll show you that coming up. Quickly, we'll look at the 850 millibar chart here too. And this is just above the surface, right? This shows air mass change. So as we start talking about fronts this time of year, we look at this as opposed to the surface temperatures, right? The surface temperatures can become just a little cloudy, for lack of a better word, this time of year. So there we go. You can see the front very evidently. There it is coming in on Sunday. No change with that. There'll be a real taste of fall. You can see up in the Great Lakes region, even the Northeast. There's that troughing pattern. It continues. You can see even by midweek, you can see how we stay in that northwesterly flow. Temperatures don't rebound. The big ridge stays well out to the west. Going forward in time, here comes the next trough and the next front taking shape. And that one's looking more and more impressive. Look at that. That's about 10 days on down the road. That front, obviously, the data doesn't go out any further than 10 days. But again, the source region of that is more in the way of Canadian air. So that following front, again, in about 10, 11, 12 days on down the road, could even have a little more teeth in it. That could be our first real deal fall front, again, here in North Texas. Again, not that we're going to get a blast of cold air, obviously, but again, if you're looking for maybe temperatures to truly trend down, that could be it right there. Again, that's a pretty formidable looking front, especially for this time of year. So quickly, let's go and run you through the precip over the next 10 days. Sunday, I've still got a 10% opportunity of a stray shower or thunderstorm as the front moves through. It really looks like it's going to come through dry. I'm just don't get your hopes up for any precip on Sunday. If you're making weekend plans, and anticipate Sunday being dry. Then as we go forward in time, we're essentially dry. We'll take you out about 10 days. Everything looking dry through 10 days. But like I mentioned, as that next front comes in, probably by about day 11 or 12, I think we need to watch that one. There could at least be some active weather with that one. So just quickly, precip totals through 10 days. This is not going to make you very happy, right, if you want rain, and we need rain. So through 10 days, the European model essentially keeping North Texas bone dry. Rain off to our west, rain to our north, rain to our south, rain to our east. Again, we're just simply put dry. Here's the other thing that I do want to look at quickly here. I keep saying quickly because I'm trying to keep these between about 12 and 15 minutes. We want to try and get to the point as quickly as possible. But I do want to show you, these are dew points, right? So this is the measure of the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. And the one thing you'll notice about this front, there it is. You see the blues. Again, that's not cold air. That's very dry air. In fact, we'll have dew points in the 40s. I mean, this is going to be, it's going to feel, even though the temperatures are still going to be relatively warm in the 80s, again, the air mass is going to be so dry with the northerly and northeasterly wind that it will definitely at least give you a mini taste of fall, even with this front. But again, the air mass will be very, very dry. That's the one thing you'll really enjoy about this front coming up. Okay, from there, let's go and do this. Let's go and look at data. And first of all, this is the European model that we just looked at. You can see temperatures through the weekend, basically mid to mid upper 90s, hot, which we know. Then as we get into next week, we see some mid 80s showing up. By Monday, 87. By the following Wednesday, about 88. And there's that secondary push of some less hot air coming in. By the following Thursday, the Euro is advertising a temperature there right around 83. So now we'll look at the blend of models. This is all the model data put together, and it's weighted, which model performs better, and also the high-res data factored into the first 48 hours here as well. And so just kind of blending all of that together, it's essentially telling us the same story, right? It's essentially telling us Saturday and Sunday, mid upper 90s, hot. There's the front, the real deal heat relief beginning on Monday, 89. There's the trend down of temperatures with that secondary push of, again, less hot air. This is probably a little more realistic, 86 to 85. Then we slowly trend the temperatures up right before that next front, or what appears to be the next front, in about 11 or 12 days, back up to right around 90. And then we'll see as the data continues to come in. Again, we can only take this out truly about 10 days. From there, day 11 and day 12, we just kind of extrapolate out that most likely we'll have a front in the area, again, with less hot temperatures and the possibility of even some active weather with that as well. So that's where we are. It's a relatively quiet pattern, right? I mean, we at least have some heat relief on the way for next week. Next week looks much more comfortable, highs in the 80s, less humid. But again, as far as rain chances, as far as even our secondary fall severe weather season goes, again, right now, simply put, really just none of that showing up whatsoever. So we'll continue to track this. Of course, our channel, you can always watch that live, get your full forecast, talking more about the tropics on there, travel, weather, all of that. And then, of course, we like to do this bonus content for you on social media. By the way, if you haven't downloaded our free mobile app, be sure to do that today. Just go to the App Store, Apple or Google Play, and again, be sure to download it. Otherwise, we'll talk to you again tomorrow. And again, thanks for watching our model discussion right here on social media.